She realized that if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you might spend your entire life waiting and miss out on the beauty hidden in small, imperfect moments. She understood now that dreams do not have expiry dates written on them, but time does, and time never stops to ask if you are ready. Each day that you spend waiting is a day you lose forever, a day that will never come back to knock on your door again. Asha began to see her world with new eyes, as if she had been given a second chance to see colors she had never noticed before. The flowers in her garden looked brighter, the sky seemed wider, and the laughter of children sounded sweeter than any song she had ever heard. She started waking up with excitement bubbling inside her instead of the heavy emptiness that once made mornings feel like a burden. Every page she filled with her words was like planting a seed in a garden she thought was long dead, and watching new flowers bloom. When she went to the park, she no longer sat alone lost in her own thoughts, but eagerly looked for children and young mothers who wanted to listen or share their own dreams. She became a small local celebrity, known lovingly by the children as Story Auntie, and her presence started to brighten the park like a lantern in the night. The young girl with the braids came often, always carrying her sketchbook, and the two formed a bond deeper than words, a bridge between generations built on dreams and stories. Asha sometimes watched the girl draw and imagined the world she might one day create, the characters that might live forever in books and in hearts. She encouraged the girl to keep drawing no matter what anyone said, to follow her passion like a bird follows the wind, free and fearless. In her stories, Asha began to weave in the lessons she had learned about patience, about love, about never giving up even when the world tells you to stop. She wrote about small joys that most people overlook: a stray dog wagging its tail, a shy flower blooming on a cracked wall, the smell of wet earth after rain. Children started writing her little notes and letters, sometimes drawing pictures of characters from her stories, making her feel like the most loved author in the world. One day, a boy with bright eyes and restless energy told her that he wanted to become a writer too, because her stories had made him believe he could. Hearing that, Asha felt her heart swell with a happiness she hadn't known even when she was younger and thought she had all the time in the world. She felt that every wrinkle on her face now carried a story, every line was a map of lessons and laughter and hidden dreams finally set free. The local library invited her to hold storytelling sessions, and every weekend, children gathered in colorful mats to listen, laugh, and learn. Parents thanked her for bringing so much joy into their children's lives, and some said they themselves felt inspired to pick up old hobbies and forgotten dreams. Asha found herself surrounded by new friends and admirers, but more importantly, she found herself surrounded by purpose, which had been missing for so many years. Her loneliness faded, replaced by the warmth of voices, the glow of smiles, and the constant sound of young hearts beating with hope and imagination. She began to write letters to her children in different cities, telling them about her new life, about the stories, the children, the books, and the laughter. Her children were surprised at first, unable to imagine their mother as a writer and storyteller, but soon they began to visit more often, curious to see the new spark in her eyes. During one visit, her eldest son watched her tell stories to a group of children and felt a surge of pride and admiration he had never expressed before. Her daughter took photographs of her mother surrounded by children and shared them online, calling her the coolest mom anyone could have. People from other towns began to hear about her, and some even traveled just to meet her, to listen to her stories, or to thank her for inspiring them. A young woman who had stopped painting years ago decided to start again after reading one of Asha's stories about a girl who painted dreams on her walls. A man who had always wanted to play music but had been too afraid to try took out his old guitar after listening to her talk about courage and regret. The small book she had published started to spread beyond the local school, reaching other schools, libraries, and even small bookstores in nearby towns. One day, a journalist came to interview her, sitting with her in the garden, asking her about her past, her dreams, her regrets, and her unexpected second act in life. Asha spoke softly but confidently, her words weaving a story of lost years and found purpose, of silence turned into music, of loneliness transformed into community. The article titled, "The Woman Who Found Her Dreams at 68, went viral online, touching thousands of hearts across the country. Letters and emails began to flood in from people of all ages. Some teenagers struggling with fear, some young parents buried in responsibilities, and many elderly people who felt forgotten and lost. In each letter, people shared their own hidden dreams, their old notebooks, their abandoned hobbies, their wish to be brave like her. Asha read each letter carefully, sometimes crying, sometimes smiling, always replying with love and encouragement, telling them that it was never too late. She felt like she had become a grandmother to many, her words reaching places her feet could never go, her stories entering hearts she would never meet. With the money she earned from her book and donations from well-wishers, she started a small community center in her town called the Dream Nest. In this cozy, colorful center, people of all ages gathered to share stories, paint, learn music, write poems, or simply sit and listen to each other. Children came to draw and imagine worlds beyond the walls of their small town. Women came to sing songs they had once whispered to themselves, and men came to build model airplanes and wooden toys. Asha would walk around the room, offering gentle words, warm hugs, or simply sitting quietly beside someone who needed a silent companion. She realized that the greatest gift she could give was not just her stories but her presence, her willingness to listen and hold space for others' dreams. At night, she often sat on her wooden chair by the window, sipping her ginger tea, looking up at the stars and feeling a quiet, deep gratitude that filled her entire being. She no longer thought about what she had missed or what she could not do, but instead she celebrated everything she could still create and inspire. She saw herself not as an old woman running out of time, but as a gardener planting seeds that would bloom in other people's lives long after she was gone. In the mornings, she would sometimes watch the sunrise and whisper to herself, "I am alive, I am here, and I can still give." Her life became a beautiful melody, each note a moment of connection, each pause a gentle breath of reflection, each chorus a celebration of resilience and renewal. As months turned into years, her community center grew, and more people joined, bringing their forgotten dreams and turning them into shared realities. A retired tailor began teaching young girls how to sew, a former dancer started a small dance class for mothers, and a quiet teenager began writing a fantasy novel that surprised everyone. The Dream Nest became a symbol of hope in the town, a living proof that age was never a barrier to creating, to dreaming, to loving, to living fully. Even visitors from other cities came to see what made this place so special, often leaving inspired to create their own small spaces of hope back home. Asha's days were now filled with laughter, applause, and the gentle rustling of turning pages instead of the cold silence that once haunted her home. She no longer needed to visit Paris to feel the magic of life because she had found her own Eiffel Tower in the eyes of every child who listened to her. She no longer needed to swim in deep waters to feel free because every story she shared became an ocean of possibilities in someone's heart. She no longer worried about trembling fingers or aching knees because her soul danced every day in the light of new connections. One evening, as she sat beside the young girl with braids, now a teenager working on her first illustrated book, Asha realized how deeply she had influenced this new generation. She saw the girl's determination, her fearless creativity, and knew that her own delayed dreams had not gone in vain but had multiplied in the lives she had touched. Asha's children, once distant and busy, now visited often, sometimes bringing their own children to meet Nanny the storyteller, and listen to her magical tales. Her grandchildren sat wide-eyed as she described imaginary kingdoms, talking animals, and brave little heroes who conquered fear with kindness. At family gatherings, her children proudly shared her books and spoke about her community center, inspiring others to dream and act no matter their age. Asha often thought back to her old bucket list and felt no regret but a deep understanding that life had a way of unfolding dreams in unexpected, sometimes more meaningful ways.